It's overwhelming to see the crowd that is here tonight. Not just in the kamos, not just in the numbers, but really in the echos, in the quality of all the girls that are here. It's only a couple of days before Rosh Hashana. I'm sure that you have a lot of things you could be doing right now, including being at home and making honey cake, I'm sure. But as we're sitting on the end of one year and coming to the threshold of a new year, so I see that your hearts and your minds are in the right place. And Mr. Hashem, as we gather here tonight, thank you, Rachel, for arranging this beautiful shir. It should be a aliyah neshama for Rina Sarah. And if it's okay, I'd like to dedicate it also as a refuah shleima to Eliezer Yitzchak ben Yocheved. Rabbi Gross Shlita should be well, as Hashem. And we should grow tonight for ourselves. We should have an aliyah as well. As Rosh Hashana is around the corner, we want to make sure that we are ready to face HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the best possible way. It says in this week's parsha that we just read, Parshas Nitzavim, some of this we spoke about when we learned together in Beis Yaakov. It says the following idea. Moshe Rabbeinu is speaking to Klal Yisrael and he says, Heidoisei hayoim, I'm bringing to you today testimony. Hachayim v'hamoves nasati lefanecha. I'm placing death, life and death in front of you. Habrocha ve'aklala, there's blessing and curse. Ubecharta b'chayim, and you should choose life. That's it. It's a very, very simple equation in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's blessing and there's life and there's good on one side. And then there is death and there is curse and there is bad on the other side. And the HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Ubecharta b'chayim, and you should make sure that you choose life. Now, is that really a choice? If you see one side is really good and one side is really bad, so then the choice is obvious. So why, as we're standing on the crossroads, does HaKadosh Baruch Hu say, and by the way, make sure Ubecharta b'chayim, that you choose a path of life. I want to bring you two extreme examples. In the 1960s, the Surgeon General came out with a warning about cigarettes. At that time, they finally realized that cigarette smoking was hazardous to your health. I believe that in the very beginning, they said such a language of smoking cigarettes might be hazardous to your health. It might cause the machla, it might cause cancer. But now we're holding, from the 1960s, we're 60 years later, all of the science is out there, all the statistics are in play, and everybody knows that smoking cigarettes is a hazard to one's health. It can kill a person, it is dangerous, it is a horrible thing. I even have a relative, her husband died, he smoked like a chimney. He didn't even die of smoke, he died of something else. And she herself now is battling lung cancer because of secondhand smoke. Everybody knows. So why is it then that there are tens of millions of people, maybe hundreds of millions of people in the world that are still smoking cigarettes every single day like a chimney? Don't you know that it has for your health? Rabbi the Zecher Tzaddik Livracha, when he was a younger man in Kollel, he had some health issues, and his Rebbe, Rav Chatzkel Levenstein, sent him to England. He told him, over there is your avodah, that's where you're going to do your job. There was a big mumcha, a very big expert in health over there, in this particular ailment that Reb Revda had. And he told him, you go to England and you take care of yourself, and you'll see you'll have what to do over there. And sure enough, he did have what to do. Those of you that don't know now, you will know that Rabbi Graydon was one of his Talmidim that he found in England, amongst many others, but we are all the beneficiaries of that move that he made to England in that time. So he went to an expert who was the expert in the field of this particular sickness that Rabbi Revda had. Now, why was he the expert? Because he himself had the same exact illness. And he had a whole plan. He had a whole regimen. He had different things he had to do, and there was a special diet that you had to eat in order to be healthy all the time. One of the foods that you're never allowed to eat if you have this sickness is sardines. Now, for most of us, not a big challenge. Nobody really wants sardines anyway. But if you have this illness, you're not allowed to eat sardines. So the doctor once says to Rabbi, he said, when I got this illness and I found the dietary plan that you have to follow, it was very difficult for me. Because my favorite food in the world is sardines. He says, so I can't say no the whole year. It's impossible. Once a year, he says, I allow myself to indulge and have sardines. What do? He said, I prepare the ambulance ahead of time. I sit down at my table, I eat the sardines. The moment that I eat them, my body goes into some cataclysmic reaction where I'm about to die. They rush me off to the hospital, they put me into the ICU, and it takes me a few days, but then I end up getting better after that. As Rabbi said when he told the story, bow wow. Meaning, are you a human being who understands that this is dangerous to your health, or are you an animal, you're a dog that just cannot hold back from the sardines? Mankind is a very curious creature. We can know what is right, and we can know what is wrong, and we can still make the wrong choice. Says the Rabbi Nishon the Klal Yisrael, you're standing over, it's the end of 40 years, you're about to go into Eretz Yisrael, you made a lot of mistakes in the midbar, you know what you did wrong, you know that there's schar v'aydish, reward and punishment, you know what is right, you know what is wrong, life, blessing, goodness, death, curse, ra, bad. It's obvious. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, "Ubecharta b'chaim," but if I don't tell you, it's very shaykh and likely that a person is still going to make the wrong choice in life. No, there's no way around it. Even when it's clear, we still end up making the wrong choice in life. Says the Or HaChaim, then the pasuk goes on and it says, "Li'avo es Hashem Elokecha," and you should choose life, it sounds like, because when you do Le'av es Hashem Elokecha, you'll come to love Hashem. Lishmai b'koilo, you hear His voice. U'ledafka bo, you cling to Him. Ki hi chayecha, Kodesh Baruch is your life. V'arech yamecha, your life in the world to come. L'sheves al adoma asher nishba Hashem l'aveisecha, for you'll dwell in the land Eretz Yisrael that Hashem promised Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Law says them that He's going to give to them. Says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh over here, don't think that the Torah is telling you that if you're going to end up b'charta b'chaim, choosing life, then you'll live a life of loving Hashem and listening to Hashem in His voice. Says the Or HaChaim, you know what's going on over here? The Torah is telling you it's not the way that you're going to get to b'charta b'chaim. This is the benefits of someone that is a b'charta b'chaim. And he writes like this, Perush, Shetam chafetz b'chaim, the reason that a person should desire life, hu le'av es Hashem lishmoi b'koilai. If you desire life, so then you will get to a place where you're able to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu and hear His voice. V'nosan tam ki hu achayecha, that's what it says, He's your life. Ki ma lo adam chayim, what is life worth? Im lo yitzayna yizbarach, if we're not doing the will of Hashem. What is life worth anyway? If we're not doing the ratzon of Hashem, she'asiyas ritzaynahi, doing the will of Hashem, to soivev sheyidban ka'adam b'kainu, it allows you to cling to Hashem, like it says with the dafka boy, v'zehu atzmai, and this itself is achayim ba'olam hazeh. This is what life is all about in this world. V'arech yomim la'olam haba, and it is your life in the world to come. Says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh the following idea, and that is, we're going to stand before the Rebbeinu Shalom in just 2 days, And we're going to keep asking him, Zachreinu l'chaim, Hashem, remember me for life. Hashem chafetz b'chaim, he's the God that loves, the King that loves life. He desires life. Hashem says, do you desire life? Do you want life? What is life all about? Says the Torah, as the Ar Chaim HaKadosh explains, life is all about doing the Ratzain, the will of Hashem. Life is all about loving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Life is all about clinging to Hashem. Not only when things are grand and great and everything is amazing, but it means clinging to the Ribbono Shel Olam all of the time. How does a person cling to Hashem? How do they love HaKadosh Baruch Hu? How do they do Ratzon Hashem constantly? So on this, I would like to share a lesson that I learned very often from my dear Talmida Rina. And I think that if we can take this into the Yomim Noraim, I think that perhaps we will transform the way that we look at our own lives and our own connection with the Ribbono Shel Olam. And that is that the only way that a person is going to be the Becharta B'chaim, to choose life in every single situation that we will find ourselves in. The only way that we will reach an Ava to love the Ribbono Shel Olam in every situation that we find ourselves in. And the only way that will be Uladavkabo, that we can cling to Hashem in all the situations that HaKadosh Baruch Hu places it in. The only way is if a person has a very strong and deep and real level of Emunah, of belief in the Ribbono Shel Olam. When your Emunah is strong, when your Emunah is solid, when your Emunah is real, so then you have the ability to live with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in any single situation, any day, any time, anywhere, any place that you are. There's a very, very famous Gemara. Could be that we spoke about it once before. But the Gemara says like this, very interestingly. Bo Dovid HaMelech came. V'amidon al achas esrei, and he ended up somewhat boiling down the Torah to 11 different mitzvahs that were there. What does that mean? He got rid of the other 602 mitzvahs in the Torah? What it means, the Mefarshim tell us, is that Dovid HaMelech looked at his generation. He saw that they were overwhelmed by 613 mitzvahs. He saw that it was a lot for them to handle at one time. And he said if we could find 11 main mitzvahs in the Torah that will become like the foundations of what all the Torah is about, so then on that they'll be able to build Kol HaTorah Kula. That was Dovid HaMelech. Uba Yeshayahu, Yeshaya Navi came along. V'amidim al sheish, and he said, you know what, 11, it's too much for Klal Yisrael. They can't handle 11, only 6. 6 mitzvahs, and those will be the foundations of all of the Torah, and on that the rest of the Torah will live. Ba Micha came along. V'amidan al shalash, he said, no, 6, too much. This Klal Yisrael, so many generations, they can't handle it. So you know what, let's put them on 3. Elabah Chavakuk, and even that didn't work until the Navi Chavakuk came. V'amidan al achas, and he ended up standing it up on one particular mitzvah. Says the Gemara, Shenemar, like it says, V'tzadik b'emunasai yichye. A tzadik in his emunah, yichye, will live. What does that mean? For a person to live in their emunah. There are all different types of emunah that a person will have in their life. There's an emunah that is up here, intellectually. I believe in Hashem. I know there's Hashem. He's running the world. He's been running the world. Everything he does is good. I know it. There's an emunah that gets deep down into one's heart, where they actually feel their belief and their emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But then there's a whole different type of an emunah. And that is an Emunah that we're speaking about over here called Yichya, when you're living Emunah. When you're every fiber in your heart and your soul and your mind and your words and your speech, everything is Emunah. I believe in you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's never a moment in your life, there's never a moment in your day where you feel that you are all by yourself. You are living with Hashem. Living Emunah is a different Emunah altogether. And that is something that the Navi is calling Yichya, you are alive. As we are going into the Yomim Neroyim, and we are preparing ourselves to stand before the Melech, Malchei HaMelachim, the King of the universe, and we're going to be begging for life, we have to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu we know how to live. How does a person know how to live? Tzaddik b'emunasai yichya. You will live in your Emunah. With Emunah that's alive, that is pulsating inside of you, it's chiyus, it's life. If you have that life, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees you alive, standing before Him, the Rebbeinu Shalom, He welcomes us into the next year. I saw a Maisa recently of a Holocaust survivor by the name of Yisrael Stark. At the time of this story, he was about in his 90s. I hope that he's still alive. And he was a young man in the Holocaust. And in 1944, 1945, he was in the concentration camps, and it was coming to the end of the war. And the Nazis knew they were in big trouble already. The Allied forces were getting together. They were coming after the Nazis. And what were they doing at the very end before they gave up? They were trying to hide and cover up all of the evidence of all of the rishas, the wicked things that they did to Klal Yisrael. So they had this concentration camp with hundreds and hundreds, I believe maybe 1,500 survivors that were still there, and they took them on what was called a death march. Now, if anybody knows any of these stories, in this particular one, they were going across the Austrian mountains. It was the winter, it was freezing, it was snowing, there was ice and snow all over the ground, the wind was blowing in, frigid temperatures. And these prisoners had only their measly little uniform that they had from the concentration camp. Some had shoes, if you could call them shoes. Many had no shoes, and they're walking on the ice, cold grounds, miles after miles after miles. Now, the rules were, if you stop for 1 second to catch your breath and rest, you get shot on the spot. If you stumble and you fall, you're not going to get up, because the Nazis were walking, of course, in their wool coats, lined with their boots and everything nice and warm. They were walking alongside, watching every single Jew. You fall, you get killed. You try to help somebody else, you both get killed. You're not allowed to move out of your line. They were in rows of 5, going and going for miles long. This Yid, he was named Srulik. He's in this row, and he hears people from behind him crying, "Mama, I can't take it anymore. Rabbi Shalom, I can't take it. Please save me." And he realizes people are just dying. He hears gunshots left and right. Everyone's dying. What's going to be? And he tries to think to himself, what could I do to give chizuk to my fellow Yidden that are here? And he begins singing a niggin. All that he could do. He can't turn around. He can't give a drasha. He can't say a word. If he does anything, he's getting killed. So he begins singing, Ani Mawamin, Ani Mawamin. And he starts singing, and the guy next to him starts singing, and the one next to him, and now his whole row, Ani Ma'amin. And the next thing he knows, the row behind him is singing. and they're all behind him, and they're all in front of him. And the next thing he realizes, every single Yid that is in that death march is singing, and they're singing and singing and singing. And he said a nace took place. Besides the fact that the Nazis, Yimach Shemam, let them sing, which was unheard of. Not a single Yid died in the rest of the march as long as they were singing Ani Ma'amin, I believe. In the schos of Emunah, Yichya, a person is going to live. And this is our avodah. Our avodah at this time of the year is to build up the Emunah that is there already inside of us. We learned many years ago, Emunah is b'teva, it's a natural thing. Everybody believes in the Ribbono Shel Olam. You have a tselem Elokim that is implanted inside of you, which means a piece of Hashem is in you. So it's easy to believe in Hashem, because He's right there inside of you. But there are two ways to approach Emunah. Rabbi Akiva said, Lo'olam Adam Yoimar. A person should always say, Lo'olam, a person should always say, Kol ma di Ovid Rachmana L'tav Ovid. Whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is good. Now we say these words all the time. We talk like this constantly. The question is do we actually, really, and honestly believe in what we're saying? Had a Rebbe in Yeshiva many years ago. He would always ask guys, how you doing? Baruch Hashem. What's the nice frum answer? Baruch Hashem. Or the LA answer, good. Yeah, how you doing? Good. What, you can't say Baruch Hashem? No, good, I'm good. Yeah, okay. So he used to answer Baruch Hashem, and he used to say the following thing. Okay, I know that you're frum, but how are you? Baruch Hashem. How are you? Baruch Hashem. How are you doing? Baruch Hashem. No. Tell me, how are you? Are you saying Baruch Hashem? We once had a Ger Tzedek in our shul for a Shabbos. He was a fascinating person. And he said that he was responsible for being Megayer many people. He came from an illustrious Christian family somewhere in Mexico. And his father was like the head pastor of one of these massive congregations. And he was very interested. He somehow got interested in Torah and Bible and Yiddishkeit, this son. And he found a frum Yid once walking through Mexico, and he started asking him questions, and one by one, the next thing you know, the guy's into Yiddishkeit. He came from a family of like 8 children, and he was makar of his mother, 6 of his siblings, and his father and 1 sister. They were the holdouts. They did not become Jews, but he did. And 6 of his siblings, eventually they moved to Eretz Yisrael, but one of the women in the whole thing that he was Makarev was a woman that was, he said, such a hard life. You have no idea, such a hard life she had. She went through things that nobody could imagine. And then she was in the final stages of her gerus, of her conversion. And she was going through Gehenna on earth. But she wasn't letting go of Hashem, and she was not letting go of the chance to become a Jew. And one day she needed a lot of chizuk. He came to speak with her. And he said to her, how are you? She took a deep breath, he said. She closed her eyes and she said, Baruch Hashem. And he said at that moment, he said he felt like the biggest goy in the world. He said because he says Baruch Hashem all the time, but he never knows if he really means it. And this woman who was not even yet a Jew, who was going through the process, he saw in her that she was thinking and she was understanding what was going on, and she said, Baruch Hashem, with all the kavanah, with all the intention she possibly could. And he told us from that day on, he never has said Baruch Hashem the same way again. Because before the words come out of his mouth, he thinks about what he's saying. La'olam adam yoimar, a person should always say, Kol ma'di ovid rachmana l'tav ovid, everything that Hashem does, it's all good. Ribono shel olam, I know what Chazal say. Hakol biyidei Shemaim, everything is in the hands of Shemaim, in the hands of Hashem. What does that mean? Everything in your life. Every little tiny detail in your life is being orchestrated by Hashem. Do we really believe that? Come on. Do we really believe that? Do we actually believe that when you wake up in the morning till you go to sleep at night, and while you're sleeping at night, every little tiny detail is orchestrated by Hashem? Or do we feel that we have our own abilities? We have our own koichais. We make our own decisions. We know we have bechira. Yes, we have bechira. So how could it be that Hashem does everything? We have bechira. Hakol, everything is in the hands of Hashem. And everything that Hashem does is good. Does it always look good? It doesn't always look good. Is it always feel good? It doesn't always feel good. But it is always from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's always from the Ribono shel olam. The more that a person is living be'emunah, the more that you're yichid, that you are living, the more that you will have the Ribono shel olam in your life. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu then is going to be la'ava, you're going to love Hashem. U'ledavka ba, you're going to cling to Hashem. You're going to be thinking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu all of the time. Rina had an incredible ability to live with HaKadosh Baruch Hu all of the time, no matter what was going on in her life. And she always had one question and one question only. She would never ask the question of, why is HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing? She only asked one question. What does HaKadosh Baruch Hu want from me in this situation? Because when you're living be'emunah, and your emunah is not just up here, it's not only here, but it's in like every fiber of your being, and you're living a person of a true belief, then anything that is going on in your life, you begin to ask yourself, what does the Ribono shel olam want from me in this situation? How could I be a bacharta b'chaim? How could I choose life better right now, today, here, in what is going on? And I want to share with you a story that was her godless in Emunah. She had Baruch Hashem, she had a baby boy, and she was in New York when the baby was born. And the baby was born with some very compromised lungs and breathing issues. And the baby ended up in the NICU right away. And they were back and forth, in the hospital, out of the hospital, back and forth, taking care of the baby. And Rina called me, and she was crying. And she asked, what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu want from me? Finally have a baby, so exciting, just want to bring him home, make a bris, everything be normal. What does HaKadosh Baruch Hu want from me? So I asked her, what is the diagnosis? What do the doctors say? She said, I don't understand. The doctors are not being very encouraging, they're not being very friendly, they're not being very optimistic. They keep telling me they don't know what's going to be, they're not sure how it's going to be, they don't know. She said, what does Hashem want? I said, Rina, you know that you have a koach, you have a power of Emunah. And you know that you have a power of tefillah. The doctors don't know anything. They're not God. They don't run the world. And the health of your baby doesn't depend on the doctors. It depends on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So you just be machazik in your emunah, in your great emunah that you have, and you be misfal, you daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom that he should give your son a refuah shlema. Yeah, but no buts. You don't listen to the doctors. You listen to yourself and your emunah that's inside of your heart, and you just daven to Hashem and you ask Him, make my baby healthy. Okay? This was, I don't remember what day of the week it was. A few days later, I'm telling you, 2 days later, she calls me, she says, you won't believe it. What? He's better. Of course, Rina, you davened. They said, in a day or two, they're going to let us take him home. It's amazing. Of course, Rina, you have emunah. And you daven to Hashem. You're yichi, you're living be'emunah. She calls me a few days later. They bring the baby home. She said, Rabbi Horowitz, you don't understand. I want to come to LA so badly. I want my parents, I want my sister, I want everybody to see the baby. But the doctor said he can't travel. Rina, you have emunah, and you have tefillah. Don't stop davening to Hashem. Whatever you want, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is listening. She davened. This was maybe like a Friday. On Sunday, Monday, the doctor said, you know what? He looks pretty good. You want to fly to LA? You can fly there, go ahead. But no bris. No bris. He's not ready for a bris. She calls, I don't know what to do. They said we come to LA, but I really want to make the bris in Los Angeles. The doctor said no. Rina, what are you worrying about? He wasn't supposed to leave the hospital, he left the hospital. Not supposed to fly to LA, he's supposed to be flying to LA. Just keep davening. Keep davening with your emunah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is listening to everything that you say. They come to Los Angeles, and in one day they go to the doctor, and the doctor says, oh, bris? No problem, make a bris. And right here in this room, there was a bris of their child. Yehuda. Tzvi. If a person is living be'emunah, if a person believes in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they live their life that they understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running the world, and we have a koyach that we can talk to Hashem. He's in front of us, we're in front of Him. You know, it says in the pasuk, Shavisi Hashem lenegdi samid. A person should place HaKadosh Baruch Hu in front of them all of the time. The emission is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in front of us all the time. The problem is, we're not there all the time. Hashem is right here. He's filling up the entire universe with Himself. He's everywhere that we turn, everywhere that we go. But our problem is, we don't see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in everything that we do. We don't believe in Hashem. We don't see HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if we would live in that realm, we would live in that world, then we would be zeichet to see that our life is a different life altogether. Someone that is living be'emunah, it's meshani, it changes the entire person and their entire life. We're going to come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we're going to be standing in front of Him in just another day. And we're going to ask Hashem, I really want another year of life. There's so much I want to accomplish. There's a lot of shidduchim to be made in Los Angeles right now. A lot of chasanas, a lot of dancing. There's a lot of friends that get excited for you, and they be excited with each other. There's bias, nemans, b'Yisrael to build. We all are aware of that. And if in fact a person has real emunah b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then whatever you are asking for this year on Rosh Hashana, you have the schus to be zoicha, to have HaKadosh Baruch Hu hear your tefillos. I want to remind you about a story that perhaps I told you years ago, because it always falls out this time of the year. And it's an emunah story, a real emunah story, that if a person just believes in Hashem, there's no limit of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu can do. If you remember the story, anyway, it's Chazara. If you recall, my wife and I were married for Hashem many, many years, Bli Ayin Hara, and our first 6 children came out one after the other. And then Hashem decided there's going to be a long break. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, didn't have any children. Wasn't our choice. HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided, but we wanted more children. And we already tried davening, tzaddikim, kivei tzaddikim, brachas in Eretz Yisrael, all different things. Rosh Hashana was coming. This story is 11 years ago. Rosh Hashana was coming 11 years ago. And I began looking into segulas that you could do on Rosh Hashana to be zeicha the things that you want. And so I found out that if during Tkiyah Shofar you have certain kavanas of what you would like HaKadosh Baruch Hu to bring you for the up and coming year, and you know exactly how to be mechaven by this Tkiyah, by this Trua, so Hashem can make miracles, and whatever you wish for, whatever you hope for, the Rebbeinu Hashem can bring down to this world. And so I began preparing myself already during Elul. I was going through the kavanas. I was thinking to myself, what I'm going to think about, have children. My Baal Tefillah from Musaf is a big tzaddik of a person. And there's certain psukim in Musaf that you could be mechaven for children. I asked him, please, Rabbi, when you get to this pasuk, please, have my wife and I in mind. No problem. Rosh Hashana comes that year, 11 years ago. And it's right before Tkiyah Shofar. And of course, every Rav speaks in Shul before Tkiyah Shofar. So I got up to give a rousing drasha. And what was my drasha? It was revolved around the following story, which I heard from a friend of mine that was sitting in the Beis Midrash in the Mir Yeshiva years before. It was right before Tkiyah Shofar. And the Rosh Hashiva of Nassim Finkel got up to give over a drasha. And if you know Rav Nassim Tzvi, he had Parkinson's. He was very weak. His voice quivered. Sometimes he could speak, sometimes he couldn't even speak so well. Now he's speaking in front of the yeshiva, over 1,000 people in the Beis Midrash. It's Yom Tov, there's no microphones. How far do you think his voice could go? Every single person in that Beis Midrash was sitting on the edge of their seat, waiting to hear what the Rosh Hashiva had to say. And he said in a very soft voice, what should a person think about when the shofar is being blown? It's a great question. I know. Think about yourself, what you need, segulas. Said Rav Nassim Tzvi, as everyone's leaning in to hear his words, and he said, you should think about the person who's sitting next to you. Think about what they need. Think about what they're lacking. Think about what they're struggling with. And ask the Rabbi Shalom that he should give them a good year coming up. And if you think about Hashem's children, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to think about you. We're very emotional drasha. People were crying. I got very emotional. And then we go to blow the shofar. Now, the rabbi stands at the bima with the Baal Tokei, the one that's blowing the shofar, to call out, Tkiyah. And we're ready to start, and I think to myself, I'm like the biggest hypocrite in the entire world. I'm preparing myself this entire Rosh Hashanah for myself and my wife, because we want to have children. Then I give a drasha to convince everybody else, don't think about yourself, think about somebody else. Am I really going to go through with this? Am I actually going to think about myself right now? And I decided at that moment, Rabbi Shalom, you run the world, it's not me. You want me to have kids, it's up to you, it's not about me. I'm not doing any segulas right now. I have 3 other people in mind that I knew 2 of them were struggling in the same exact situation, and one that had no children at all. I said, Rabbi Shalom, I will think about them, and you will think about me. And sure enough, I ended up that year on both days of Rosh Hashanah. I had in mind one couple, they had children, Baruch Hashem. Then they had a break 3-4 years. Another couple children, break 3 or 4 years, and one couple no children at all. And I just every tiki, every blast, I was mechavin, give them children. I did not think about myself. Once Hashem, you run the world. It's not me, you are in the world. Rosh Hashana was over. And later that year, whatever it was, 9-10 months later in that year, couple number 1, Mazel Tov, they have a baby boy. Couple number 2, Mazel Tov, they have a baby girl. Couple number 3, they got divorced. Baruch Hashem, was a bad marriage to begin with. The husband got remarried and he has a beautiful family right now. Baruch Hashem. Couple number 4, the Horowitzes, on Chav Ches Elul of that year, we were zeicher to have a son after 6 years of not having children. Because when you are a maimin in the Rebbeinu Shalom, you believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that is running the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that is guiding everything. It's not us, it's Hashem. When you believe in such a thing like that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes charge, He takes control, and He takes care of everything. And if we could show HaKadosh Baruch Hu this year, Rosh Hashana Tov, Shin, Pei, Vav, 5786, that Rebbeinu Shalom, I'm a Bechar de Becham, I want life. What is my life going to be? My life is going to be a life of real Emunah. Not just up here. The Chazon Ish said that there are people that have Emunah in their head. There are people that have Emunah in their hearts. But there was a Yid by the name of Chatzkel Levenstein. He said he has Emunah in his hands. It's tangible. We might not get to the world of tangible Emunah this year, but we could get to the world of living Emunah. Where when we say the words, I know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you do everything. When I say the words that everything you do is good. When I say Baruch Hashem, because you are HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hashem, you take care of all my needs. When I live my life like that, and I'm living be'emunah, tzaddik be'emunasa yichya, you will live this year. You'll live this year with a chiyus, with a life. You'll live with brachos. You'll live with all the things that your heart desires, which I'm sure there are many things inside those pure hearts that you have. Whatever your heart desires, there's no reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu will not give it to you this year. So Be'ez Hashem, we should be zeicher to live a life of Emunah, where our Emunah is pulsating and coursing through our veins, where it's natural for us to believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even on the days that we are not feeling so connected. Be mechazik. One of the great ways that a person can be mechazik is, like it says in Tehillim, "Behamanti ki adaber." Dovid HaMelech says, "I believed because I spoke," which means that the more that you talk about Emunah, and the more that you talk about believing in Hashem, and that's maybe the beauty of the Yom Neroyim, the machzor is filled with Emunah in Hashem. And you're talking hours and hours and hours and hours about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're talking hours when you get to Musaf, Zichroinois, Shoifrois, Malchias. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the King of the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu remembers all of us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching over all of us. Just keep saying the words again and again and again. And when you say those words, especially if you understand what you're saying, it elevates you, it elevates your tefillas, it brings you to a person that's living be'amunah. It should be a schus for Rina, who was a young lady that taught all of us, everyone who knew her, how real amunah could be, and how empowering amunah could be, and how it could get a person through every single situation in life if you believe in Hashem, and you talk to Hashem, and you daven to Hashem. And in Yetz Hashem, her neshama should have a very big aliyah. And we should have our own aliyahs this year on the Yom Neroyim. We should grow in our emunah. We should love HaKadosh Baruch Hu, cling to Hashem, ubachar te b'chaim, choose life. And if we choose a life of real emunah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will choose us for another year, Be'ez Hashem, and whatever it is, Masha Libay Chafetz, whatever your heart's desire, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should see how much you want to go to the next stages in your life, because you'll be able to grow even more in your Emunah, more in your commitments to Hashem. And in Yetz Hashem, we should only have simchas for all of you. B'koroiv mamish be'ez Hashem, as they say. And I look forward to seeing in my mailbox this year many, many, many invitations, or maybe these things all digital, whatever, at least on my phone. I'll see a lot of invitations, Be'ez Hashem, to your chasanas, to your simchas, to your kiddushes, to your brisim, to all the good things that HaKadosh Baruch has in store, all in the schus of our Emunah, which will allow us to be a bacharta b'chaim, to choose life in the right way, Im Yetz Hashem. Ksiva chasima toiva, and we should only hear good things for everyone, for all of Klal Yisrael.